Hey everyone, I'm John Luke and I'm here with Jess and we're at Summer Game Fest Play Days. Jess, you are a fellow Persona sicko.
Oh, the sickest.
Like I am. Well, guess what? There is a new game from the Persona team, metaphor ReFantazio.
Atlas Unleashed.
Atlas Unleashed. Yeah, it's probably like the hottest game at the show, and it's like easy to see why we played it. Like it looks fantastic. And
the demo that we saw was divided into 3 sections.
Yeah.
So we had one that was focused on like the archetypes that you are playing with, which are similar to the Persona fans at home to your personas, the power that you unlock that, you know, but there's more of like a job system at work there. And then we had one that was focusing on exploration and then another one that was focused on fighting a boss.
At face value, it is kind of, I guess, shocking, but not that shocking, like how Persona it is.
Yes.
Like, you know, like it obviously, like the combat doesn't quite have the exact same stuff. Like you don't have like the all-out attacks or like
you have like the synergy instead of the all-out attack.
Exactly. There's a moment where we downed an enemy and we're like, can we do the all-out attack? Or we're like, no, you can't. No. But like I think where it varies is actually like the way you interact in the dungeon. So like there's this whole mechanic where you actually can like hit the enemies a couple times before you do like a big attack. Or for the weaker enemies, you can just like straight up like smack them and they die, which is like awesome, because you're like, cool, you are too low level for me to care.
Yeah, it really gets rid of like kind of that oppressive nature that some of the Persona games have, where you're just like, you're going through trying to grind out items or something like that, and you're fighting all of these weaker enemies and the battles are getting repetitive, and you know, so I think that that's a really good call. It switches between this action combat and turn-based combat, and so if you're somebody who like maybe wanted to play a Persona game, but you're not a huge turn-based combat person, this might be a better way to navigate that.
We also got to see a couple of like your early party member characters and stuff like that.
A real boyfriend contender in there.
Yes, absolutely.
Stroll? Stroll is his name.
Stroll. Yeah, yes.
It's very hot.
It's way too early to get a sense of like who these characters are, but I was very struck by the art design of everyone, especially later in the demo. There's a section where you get to go around your like little ship that's kind of your home base, and there's a lot of like the social link aspects of that kind of come into play, and like there's all just like these interesting characters. Like there's this like weird mouse dude, like super short. He's got like big ears, and there's like a dog boy, and there's like a wolf man, and I was just like, look at all these little weird characters. I love them.
And that ties in really well to kind of like the overall story, or at least like the pieces that we were seeing in that is, so the monsters in Metaphor are referred to as humans.
Which is so weird.
It took us by surprise, because they're like, oh, look at that human. And we're like, well, that's kind of a dismembered human, but sure. And then at one point too, they're talking about like a fantasy world, and their fantasy world they're describing is our world. And so there's something interesting at play there that I'm sure will be explored later.
They're doing some weird tropey stuff that's like really fun and cool, and yeah, I'm excited to see where that ultimately goes.
And everybody within Metaphor's world, it's not just like, you're not controlling human characters. It's like you have people with horns who are more like, I guess, tiefling-esque then in that regard. I mean, not really, but horns. You know, and you have like bunny-looking people, and there's a really interesting cast of characters. And I like when games lean into that fantasy, and you get to see kind of these like cool creative expressions, and it's not just here is default white male that is the main character, and you know, beautiful dark-haired woman.
The other thing that's striking about this game is obviously it's just presentation. You know, Alice know how to do some menus. We like literally stopped and we're like, wait, we need to pause and go through every menu and just look at how slick they are. They do look slick, but if I had to have a slight criticism, it's almost like too much at a time.
Like we
joked,
like
visually overwhelming.
We joked about Atlas Unleashed, but it's so true, because it's like they, you know, at first it's like Atlas Unleashed because they're doing this like different creative fantasy vibe, right? And like that's very different. It's not quite as grounded, if you can call Persona that. But artistically too, like you really do see the color palette is expanded. There's a lot more like texture. There's a lot more movement, and I liked it. I thought it was cool, but I could see how it could be overstimulating.
It's like, yes, it's overstimulating. It's like, I want to be clear, like, it's not a bad thing. I will take Atlas Unleashed insane creative over just like boring, dull, gray, whatever menus.
Absolutely.
But there was a point where I was just like, this is like hard to look at sometimes a little bit.
So I'm curious how people react to that, but I mean, it's kind of something to be expected with Atlas, and I think that was one of our big takeaways too, is like, if you like Atlas, if you like the Persona games, this has Atlas written all over it.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was like shocking how much Persona is in it. Like literally, like when I'm running around in my little ship, they were like, hey, do you want to like hang out with me and we can like sharpen our swords together?
Yeah.
Or it's like I went and like read a book and it was like, if you read this book, you're gonna get your courage up. And even just like the dialogue, the way it was written, I was like, this was written by the same people who wrote Persona.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
you could just tell.
Yes, I mean, you even joked, you're like, you know how directors have like their, you know, like Wes Anderson is known for this type of thing.
Style, yes.
You can tell. It's like, you can tell this is an Atlas game. You can tell it is the team who worked on Persona.
Specifically,
yes. And it's really good. Like, I'm very excited.
I think that's a great thing.
Yes.
Like, I think that's awesome about it, because it's like, it's like, that makes me feel comfortable with the game, because it's like, I know I love Persona, I know I love this style, so I'm probably gonna like it.
Yes.
And that can then get me interested in all the new stuff they're doing.
And we know that like the story is going to emotionally devastate us.
Probably, yes.
Yeah, there's gonna be something.
Yes.
You will cry.
Thank you all for tuning in. For more at Summer Game Fest Play Days, stick around here at GameSpot.